So one of the cabs that I've wanted this year was one of the Ninja Turtles cabinets, but unfortunately, if you take a look around my arcade, I'm running out of space, especially for a 4-player unit in my tiny little basement here. But my wife went ahead this holiday season and picked me up the Ninja Turtles Countercade, the most recent generation of it. And in this video, I'm gonna go over my thoughts on this unit and if it's worth picking up, especially with some of the holiday sales that are currently going on. So let's take a look. So to start, as far as the aesthetics go, I do like the artwork. I do also like, if you take a look at the unit itself, it just generally looks really good. I think it looks sharp. I like the aesthetic. I like the molding with the green accents. I think overall it looks really good that way. One of the downsides, however, is if you actually look online, Arcade1Up claims that they have a light-up marquee with these devices. I tried also looking through YouTube to see if any other YouTubers who had looked at this cabinet or unit, whatever you want to call it, had a light-up marquee, and I did not see that. I seen the same issue with advertising with Arcade1Up's other unit in the form of the NBA Jam Partycade, where it was advertised as having a light-up marquee, but I have yet to see anybody with a light-up marquee with that unit. So looking at this, other than the lack of a light-up marquee, I think it looks good. I like the new design. These Countercades, or this generation of Countercade, is actually bigger than the previous generation with the Miss Pac-Man Party or Countercade that I've reviewed about a year ago. So there's a bit of a size difference, which I think is good for the type of device that it is. Now, getting into it as well and taking a look at it here, just a couple things. So I'm not actually too familiar with the full-size unit despite having kind of briefly looked into it, but I do like that this does have setting options, right? So we can change some of the setting options on this. We also have the ability to change the demo modes, things like that, which I do like. I also like Turtles in Time quite a bit, so I'm happy, of course, that this is included, and basically the main reason I was even half interested in this, and happy that my wife picked this up. Now, as far as the controls themselves feel, the joystick feels not as good as in comparison to like my Partycades, for example, but it's acceptable and it works for the games. I think that it's probably a little too sensitive in some ways, but it feels good for what it is, right? Secondary to that, we do have a mono speaker, but the one thing I will highlight is, unlike the Miss Pac-Man Partycade that I got, it doesn't sound tinny, it doesn't sound bad, and I think that might be a result of the fact that it's underneath the Countercade itself, and that might lend some different acoustics to the device itself. I'm not sure, but it doesn't sound bad. And for the most part, even the digitized sounds and voices, in my opinion, sound very good. Right? Now, as far as emulation goes, I do always bring this up. I haven't really, so far into using Arcade1Up's devices, had any issues with the way that their emulation is working, but I just wanted to highlight that it does play well, it controls well, and for the most part, I have no dissatisfaction with any of the way it plays or controls or functions, right? Now, the big glaring issue and the big glaring problem we have, of course, is if we take a look, this is one player only. It's not just one player only, it lacks the ability to add any sort of secondary player, and even worse, it doesn't have any online capabilities, which to me are, again, significant issues for the type of device that this is, which is a one-player Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles cabinet, right? So again, I'm a guy that I played this game as a kid actually quite a bit on the Super Nintendo. I didn't do it much in the arcades, and I beat this probably when I was like 7 years old by myself, which was cool and a real pain in the ass. But it sucks because one of the big excitements that I have with a lot of these units is if you look at like my Marvel Superheroes cab, Punisher is a game that my son and I play explicitly, right? Whereas with this, I can't really share this with my son, and we basically have to take turns because the game is confined to being single player. And this seems to be a trend with 1UP's units. It's one of the big complaints I had with the NBA Jam Shaq edition device, because it again is stuck at being one player. I even tried to open it up and see if we could USB tether something to it. Not possible. I saw another YouTuber, my apologies, I forget the fella's name, but he tried to take this apart and see the same thing, and again, there's no hope for a secondary player on this device, which again is a shame because it feels good, it looks good. It would be nice to just be able to even pair a controller, or even better, to be able to have Wi-Fi. For me, that would be a game changer for a device like this, even my NBA Jam device, because I would love the ability to connect a secondary device, and I would most likely buy a second one of these if I could do Wi-Fi. Because me personally, I do like the compactness. I do like the way this overall feels and sits. It seems solid, right? And I think, honestly, as far as the Countercades go, I think it's a good looking device. I think it looks really appealing. But the biggest, again, issue is there's no secondary player to this device, which does detract from it quite a bit. For me, I have the nostalgia of playing through Turtles in Time again, which is fun, and I appreciate this game and enjoy this game a lot. And I like that Arcade 1UP is offering more different ways to play some of these games beyond just the full-size units. If you guys have watched my channel, and I know many of you have commented on it, my Partycades, for example, are something I really like. So I like the different forms, I like the different sizes, especially for space reasons. Because again, if you look around my whole arcade, I can't really accommodate another full-size cab at this junction without getting rid of some of my other units, which I'm not ready to just do quite yet. So again, I like the form factor. I like the size of this. I like how it feels. It's just, it really sucks we don't get that second player addition to this device. So overall, I'm going to put it like this. If you're in the market for a Countercade and you have the accommodation for a Countercade, right? So you have space for it, you have a place for it in your home arcade, whether that's bar top or like I have set up on my little magazine holder that's inside here, right? If you have that, this is a good device. I like what it does, but the downside is you definitely have to go in knowing that there's no hope that you're going to have a secondary player, which for many people may seriously detract from this device. But if you can get this for a good price this holiday season, which I'm seeing some good discounts kind of appear on it, it's definitely worth considering picking up if you just want to vary up the type of devices that you have in your home arcade.